Well, all I can say is, wow. You got me crying. You got everybody crying here. You're crying. Everybody's crying here. That is an example of what people hunger for in these conversations, which is honesty. You didn't have to tell it spectacularly. You didn't have to tell it cleverly or funny or anything else. You just spoke and we listened. It was very real. And I think people will really respond to it.
Thank you. I hope so.
You know, I go back to that central question, which is every parent, you're a parent now. And if I had more time, we would have pursued your little quick comment there when he says, well, now you got a child and, you know, maybe she'll find out how much she is like you. And you're like, God help us, or I hope not, or I'm scared, or whatever here. Honest to God, I mean, I went through this. My daughter wasn't a drug addict, but all the kids in affluent suburbia where we were, a heck of a lot of them were. And you just scared to death because it's like something just lurking out there. And if it catches your kid and your kid has the right chemistry, man, there's no stopping it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a huge fear. And statistically, they say I have an 80% chance of her being an addict, since two of us are recovering addicts.
Because you've got the gene in you here. Well, it's your father's fault for giving an Irish name, because I think it's the Irish gene. It's the Irish.
Am I Irish? I don't even know if I'm Irish.
There's a little we're as English and Scottish as you
cultural connection there. I know an awful lot of Irish people in my family and others that are got the bug here.
Got the gene, No, absolutely. It is a genetic thing. I believe some people don't believe that, but I truly believe that it is, and I am scared.
I can have a drink and not want another. Others I know have a drink and they can't stop. You know, as they say, you know, one's too many and 100's not enough, or whatever it is, drug, alcohol, whatever.
Yeah. I lived most of my life as a normie, and I thought, you know, my father was an alcoholic, so I figured I'm not going to be that stupid. And they talk about it being a progressive disease, which is so different in a sense than drugs, where, you know, you get meth, you're addicted, right? You know, it's nothing progressive. It's like, oh, I want more of that a lot, you know, and you don't have social meth, you know, it's not like, let's go out and
have a little meth this afternoon. I can handle it. You can't.
That doesn't happen.
And it's something that blinds a lot of alcoholics, I think, because you know, in recovery movement, they really like to distinguish between those who are on drugs, and they get real specific. There's Pills Anonymous, and there's this, you know, and alcoholics want to say, you know, yeah, but I mean, ours is legal. You can go out for a cocktail and don't see when you're talking about a mind altering whatever, legal or not, you get the right personality type and it can sneak up and grab you. You know?
Well, in our society, I always say part of it too is cultural, that we just think everything's supposed to feel good all the time.
Yes.
So if this feels good, then I'm going to do it. And what's the problem with that? I'm not supposed to ever feel bad or sad or mad. So that if I feel any of that, then let's cover it up. I'm going to take an aspirin. I'm going to take a pill. I'm going to take a something.
Totally. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So we don't live with an acceptance of anything but, you know, feeling good, powered up, feeling great, good to go all the time.
Right.
And Paul, for you to kind of round it out in terms of just even in our relationship, to know that we didn't even talk about it because, you know, we weren't saying from the beginning, I didn't want this to be necessarily the father-son chat or the father-daughter chat.
Right.
But I had really given her up for dead. I did not expect to ever see her again. And I had to do that.
Yes,
meaning,
which is inconceivable to me. To say.
Oh, well, it's you would just come. I mean, I was coming out of my skin. I was just like, you know, you've got to be kidding me. She's out there, and I can't get her. I can't find her. And friends and everybody, police, everybody saying, yes, don't go chase her. Don't. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I can't live every day like this.
Right.
And it was a long time. I never expected to see her. So for her. And it was a while, Kate, when you got sober, clean, whatever. It took some years to put back together. I mean, people didn't instantly say, oh, good, she's quit, we're fine, right?
No.
It took time to repair those relationships.
Yeah, no, it really did. It took a lot of time, and that was really challenging because some people never relapsed. Some people got sober and stayed sober, so they had a hard time understanding um, why I would relapse or why I did that. And so it wasn't easy this last time around. But I honestly think that if it were easy, I I don't know if I would have stayed sober.
Right, right,
Say that again. If it was easy, I wouldn't have stayed sober.
right.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like for addicts like me, like I do need consequences. Like I do need, I don't even, I can't, it's hard to explain, but like I did all this work to just get a little bit, just to get a little bit further in life. And it took so much work. So I appreciated it more.
Hmm.
Do you know what I
If
mean?
it came too easy, you don't appreciate it. Oh, that was easy.
Yeah.
No big deal. I can do that anytime I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you say to
So,
people who say, and this is the most common thing I think people think, is that you're just weak? Come on,
yeah, I mean, that's an
stop.
easy thing to say
Just stop. Be
because,
tough.
right. Yeah, I've heard that a lot. And sometimes it's too hard for people to grasp. Like you can't explain it. You can't explain addiction to a normal person. Like they might understand it a little bit, but they don't fully understand it.
Well, like this,
It's
I wish I really could remember his name. I have to go find it. We had a woman who used to do a show called The Grief Girl, and she used to do grief counseling. And this was a mother who brought, like John saying, her son in and said, I just didn't know what to do anymore except give him up for dead. And I had to bury him in my mind. And when she did, then he finally found something. It was like, because somehow I guess she was always enabling him or helping him or whatever, something.
yeah.
But, that whole notion that somehow there's nothing you can do to help your child has got to be the most frightening thing I can think of it as any parent.
I think one of the things that the way I look at it, and Kaitlyn certainly processed it, for a lot of years, but I look at it as Kaitlyn had struggled in school, with a learning disability. And she was still such a leader and excelled on the athletic field. And she had the coolest kids were her friends and all that. In middle school, it kind of hit in a self-awareness kind of way. I think for her trying to almost process herself, I could see her going, wait a minute, becoming much more self-aware. Why are my friends, is this stuff easy? Why am I struggling so hard? Why am I different in that way? And in that, right in the middle of that trauma, is drugs and alcohol introduced, which makes it really understandable, because that's a pain, a self-identity pain of who the heck am I?
But we're all looking for we're all looking to go back to the origin story and find the secret. That's it. That's what I'm going to avoid. If the child doesn't have any pain, then good. She'll never do this. If the child isn't exposed, is in the right environment, won't do it. If I act tough or loving or what, that's the secret. And I listen to these stories over and over again. And what scares the hell out of me is there's no secret.
Well, everybody has their own story. That's what Kaitlyn's saying. It's a very personal.
It's an unstoppable force if you have the proclivity for it, if you have the gene in you. I can't understand, and I'm very Irish, and I can have one drink and stop and not one anymore easily.
Yeah.
Others and I know many like that, who just, and I say, why? Why?
But you're not living in an Irish neighborhood that's the entire culture is around the bar either.
No, and I understand the camaraderie of that. The irony is, I went and owned a bar for a number of years.
Yeah, that's true.
And
so much for that argument.
Irish pub, yeah. And actually, I grew up, because my parents weren't alcoholics, but they were kind of borderline. I hate to say it, my wife is kind of borderline. There's a lot of people in my group circle that kind of like to drink too much and won't stop. And I always hated that. And yet I'm around them all. And I owned a bar. I don't know what it is that attracts me to this. That's the other thing that surprised me. So many say, if your parents do something, well, I'm not going to do that. Are you kidding me? I saw my parents do that. And yet that seems to be exactly what you do.
Yeah, that doesn't work either.
Yeah.
Well, I much appreciate it, Kate. And
Of course.
We
Thanks
will.
for having
Do
me.
you do any more work, or are you just focused as a mom? And what do you do?
I am a mom now.
A mom. Okay.
I
Super
am a
mom.
mom.
She's
Super
amazing. She's amazing. You enjoy the baby. It doesn't look like
I do. I
most
love
mom
her.
look.
She's so fun.
Yeah, most moms like that. I'm used to being frazzled. No, what do I do? And this is so much work. And you like play with her.
What's she
I
like?
mean, honestly, it is the hardest job I've ever had. It
Right.
truly is.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I truly enjoy it, and I'm so grateful that I'm able to do it. So
Yes, right. So what, because you look at it, not to focus on the negative here again, but I remember seeing a story not long ago, opioid addiction, another one like meth, that this just takes these people down these rabbit holes quickly. And that picture of a couple in Ohio, they found them both dead in the front seat. They're like in their 30s, and their 4 or 5-year-olds in the back seat, not realizing the mommy and daddy have OD'd and died. And the
that
cops,
is awful.
cops get there and the parents are both dead, and the child's just, wondering why they're asleep.
Isn't
No.
meth kind of an opioid?
No,
It's not
a
that family
stimulant.
at all?
No.
Totally different. Okay.
Yeah, it's a
See,
stimulant.
shows you how much I know.
It's an amphetamine.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
so that whole notion of that you can do it today here. So my last question is, what's he like as a grandfather?
Oh, he's so cute with her.
You know why I ask, and I don't just set him up so you can compliment him. I never knew my grandparents. This is one of my other little common questions I ask. I never knew my grandparents. Grandparents died when they're 60 or 65 or whatever here.
Yeah.
So I sort of knew my one grandmother. I sort of knew my great grandmother, but she was way out there, and I didn't really know. So I don't have much experience with it. And I find that that's very common for aging baby boomers. Our grandparents died earlier, or we moved away and we didn't know them. So I'm inventing, I have 2 grandsons now, and I don't know what it's like to be a grandparent. So I'm inventing this whole new role, and it's like the coolest job in the world. You fill them up with sugar, you send them home. What starts picking his nose, I start to tell him, I say, forget it, pick your nose. I don't care. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I didn't have grandparents either. I mean, I kind of knew my grandma and on my mom's side and my mom's dad, but they died when I was young. So I didn't really have an example of grandparents either. So it is cool to have parents around to, so she can have grandparents. I was always jealous of my friends that had grandparents.
Yeah, I was too. Yeah. And my oldest is like my best buddy. I can't believe we're so connected, this little guy and I. And I think grandparents have a special role that we're all trying to understand and accept. You're the different. You don't have to be the parental. Parents can't just be their buddy all the time. You got to say no.
Right.
You got to be the bad guy sometimes here. The grandparent can just be the good guy all the time.
I know. Yeah.
And we have sugar addiction runs on Kate's side of the family too.
Oh,
yeah, that's me.
American disease.
Yeah.
I love sugar. Oh my God, I'm addicted to sugar. I got to have sugar in everything.
Right.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being honest enough. I look forward to that second one where you
Me too.
after all these years of saying, don't you do this. Come on, stop. You can do this. Be tough. And she's like, Dad.
Yeah. Right.
In the mirror lately here. Yeah.
I know. I'm excited for that one too.
Now, Kate's gonna have a litter of kids.
Good for you.
We'll see.
Yeah. God willing.
All right.
All right. Love you, Kate.
Love you too.
See you, Paul.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.